Just waiting for a couple more servers to come online here as we prepare for this live streaming update from the Carolina Weather Group here in the late night hours of February 15th, 2021, just a few minutes shy of midnight. On this Monday, President's Day, I'm James Brierton in Charlotte, North Carolina. We're watching severe weather along coastal portions of North Carolina, a tornado warning for Brunswick County, North Carolina right now. You can see that on your screen looking at radar from the Wilmington, North Carolina area. We'll go into some of those details here in just a moment. This is all associated with a line of thunderstorms that have been rolling from west to east across the Carolinas for a good portion of this evening hour. We're just waiting here for a moment for a couple more of our online outlets to join us in this late evening hour here for this update on severe weather and storms rolling across the Carolinas right now. But what you're looking on your screen is radar from Wilmington, North Carolina. That's where the radar is located, and we're looking at a tornado warning that the National Weather Service has issued that is for central Brunswick County here in southeastern North Carolina. It goes until 12:15, so for another 25 minutes or so. We just got an update in the last few minutes from that National Weather Service office located there in Wilmington, North Carolina. This is for this severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado. It is near Shalloette, moving northeast at 45 miles an hour. This is all radar indicated. At this time of night, we don't have any eyes on the ground to quite confirm whether or not there is a tornado on the ground. But right here on the right-hand side of your screen, you are looking at what's called velocity. This is the radar measuring the winds in the atmosphere going towards and away. And you can see where we have this area of green in very close proximity to this area of red. And that's right where that rotation is possibly going to be. You can see here that we are looking at 80, 90, 100 mile per hour wind estimates from the radar. And what's unique about this situation at this particular location is just how close we are to the radar. The radar itself is actually right here in this black dome. And you can see that we are less than 5 miles, or just over 5 miles from the radar site. So our beam is very low to the atmosphere, and so we're actually getting an incredibly low scan of the atmosphere, because so oftentimes when we are tracking storms, you can see as this beam gets further and further away, 20 miles away, almost 1,500 feet up into the air. So we are actually getting a very low scan of what's happening close to the ground, which is fairly remarkable, especially here in the Carolinas. We're getting updates from the radar fairly quickly. I suspect they must have this in storm mode. They do. And so if we put this into motion over the last few minutes or so, and I'll go ahead and zoom out here a little bit for you if the system will let me, you can actually see this area of rotation slide from the southwest of the radar site now to the north of the radar site as the area of rotation itself continues to the north and to the east. Let's talk a little bit right now as we come back out to the latest radar frame. This is moving very quickly. You can already see that we are now halfway through this red polygon. That is the tornado warned polygon. Not too many cities showing up for me as we work our way in close to where this warning is at this late hour. We'll go ahead and pop the bulletin back up from the National Weather Service again. It looks like, and I'm going to butcher this, but I'm going to try, Makataka, around 11:55. If you're in that area, or really anywhere in the central Brunswick County area in southeastern North Carolina, especially if you're inside this red polygon that's on your screen right now, you're going to go want ahead and seek shelter from this severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado, or at the very least some damaging winds. So what is a safe place? That's a sturdy structure, the lowest level of that sturdy structure, as centrally located in that sturdy structure as possible. So as many walls between you and the outside as possible. We are taking a look here, waiting for some updates, but as we go ahead and zoom radar on out, you can see that we have a whole line of storms right now that extends, moving out of Raleigh, moving out of the Triangle, moving out of Fayetteville, moving out of Lumberton. This rolled through Charleston not too long ago, where you can still see the remnants of that orange polygon, which is the special marine warning. With those storms rolling on through where I am in Charlotte, North Carolina, we had all of this roll through a little bit earlier, 9 o'clock hour or so, and you can now see that is moving up, approaching the coast, and we're looking at this tornado warned area. Look at all that lightning showing up on radar scope right now. I'm going to take a look at National Weather Service chat. This is actually where we're able to get information from the Weather Service. They're letting us know right now, and you'll see this reflected on your screen in just a moment. This polygon is now being redrawn, and it's moving so quickly that normally these polygons overlap where they touch a little bit as they begin to extend them for the motion of a storm. But when you see this show up on the screen, they actually have just gone ahead, and it's going to be right up in here. It almost looks like it kind of just skipped ahead a little bit by the time we see it drawn. The system, again, is going to draw it out in just a moment, but just shy here of midnight at 11:56, National Weather Service continuing to monitor this severe thunderstorm capable producing a tornado located over, and I'm going to try it again, Makataka, or 10 miles north of Chaloette, moving northeast at 45 miles an hour. Flying debris will be dangerous to those caught without shelter. Mobile homes could be damaged or destroyed. Damage to roofs, windows, and vehicles would be likely. Tree damage would also likely occur. This tornadic thunderstorm will remain over mainly rural areas of central Brunswick County. That is good news, but as we continue to look further downstream, and we're still waiting for, again, that polygon update, it's going to be right on in here. Again, pretty rural, but if it were to hold together, I would say be on standby, especially at this late night hour. From Bolton, Kelly, Northwest, Sandy Creek, this is all moving generally in the vicinity towards you. And so until we have any sort of clear in the situation, you're going to want to, as you're heading to bed in this late night hour, keep that weather radio nearby. You want multiple ways to be woken up in the middle of the night if severe weather were to roll towards you. That could be a battery-operated weather radio, or one that you can plug in and has batteries in case the power goes out, a cell phone, or even one of those call me at home services that will do a reverse call to your landline. If you still have one of those, you're going to want multiple ways to be warned if and when severe weather happens, especially in the middle of the night. Again, look at all of this lightning associated right here with this, with the strength and intensity of this late night storm. All of this, as you know, so much of the Carolinas. I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I've just been in the CAD in that wedge for days, and we had all these storms come rolling through during the late night, evening hours with some warm upper air kind of really becoming churning up the atmosphere here a little bit. We're all looking forward to seeing the sun for tomorrow, but right now, at this hour, just shy of midnight, we're continuing to watch this tornado warning cell. It is booking it. It is about to already exceed this updated polygon, the red polygon on your screen from the National Weather Service. It is moving northeast at 45 miles an hour, highway speeds practically here. And again, if you're just joining us, we're looking at a potential tornado right up on in here. You can kind of see right in here, we get this area of intensity. And if we ask the radar to kind of give us some sampling of the winds, again, nearly 100 mile per hour wind estimates from the radar, which is a remarkably close, let's just go ahead and call it 10 miles, if that, with a beam height of 500 feet above the ground. That is absolutely incredible. We don't get data like that all too often. Let's go ahead and zoom on out here a little bit, just give you an idea what else is happening right now across the region. We don't have any other land-based warnings. We do have this marine, special marine warning that is issued off the coast of Charleston, as you can see here on your screen, for waterspouts and wind gusts excess of 50 miles an hour. Not too much of a concern for us. Hopefully not too many people out in boats at this hour. An update now from the National Weather Service. We have an observed, confirmed tornado on the ground in Brunswick and Columbus counties, North Carolina, with the tornado warning now being extended until 12:30 in the morning. This is a tornado on the ground now here in coastal North Carolina, Brunswick and Columbus counties. Seek shelter now. If you are needing to seek shelter that is a sturdy structure, the lowest level of that structure, between as many walls between you and the outside as possible. Not too many folks in the Carolinas that I know have basements, probably not here in the coastal rural areas either, but if you have a closet or interior bathroom, that is someplace that you're going to want to try to head to, if at all possible. If not, you just want to hunker down wherever you are. You don't want to try to outrun something that is moving 45 miles an hour. And so we have, again, a tornado warning now until 12:30. We're at midnight right now. We've just crossed into February the 16th, and we have a tornado warning for Brunswick and Columbus counties, North Carolina. This goes until 12:30, and you're going to want to go ahead and seek shelters in those areas. We should be getting, yet again, another new polygon from the National Weather Service here in just a moment. If you're just joining us, this is the voice of James Brierton in Charlotte, North Carolina, with streaming severe weather coverage on the Carolina Weather Group. Hey, let's take a look at this here. Look at this hook echo. Right on in here. This is almost textbook, where the winds are going to be coming back around into this tornado that is now observed and on the ground here. The National Weather Service doing a great job just trying to keep these polygons. There it is. Look at this. We just talked about this not 2 minutes ago, that if you knew anyone in Northwest or Sandy Creek who might be heading to bed, well, they are now inside this tornado warning. They've given themselves a little bit more buffer with this update, nearly a 17-mile-long polygon here with the area of circulation, this confirmed tornado. It's going to be right up in here. You can actually see it on the left side of your screen better than you can on the right. It's going to be right up in here. And this is, again, moving 45 miles an hour to the northeast. You can see how the cone gets a little bit bigger. The polygon gets a little bit bigger as it gets away from the point of origination. That's a little bit of margin of error. These things don't always go in a straight line. So, again, if you know somebody in Sandy Field, give them a ring. They're not in the polygon right now, but you can even see how this is more to the left than it is to the right of the polygon. So all of this is kind of in play. But again, this goes now until 12:30. We have Northwest and we have Sandy Creek as areas of towns and cities that are inside this new tornado warning for north central Brunswick County, east central Columbus County. In southeastern North Carolina, you can see Wilmington now coming onto the screen just off to the right, just off to the east. This is not a threat right now for Wilmington, but just giving that as a landmark. At midnight, a tornado producing storm was located over Honey Island, or 13 miles north of Chaloette, moving northeast at now 50 miles an hour. Damaging tornado is likely to be occurring. This is a storm that will be in Freeman by 12:10. You have 6 minutes to move to your safe place. This will be in Rigglewood and Delco and Batara. Doing my best here. Until 12:15. That's when that storm is expected near you. And in Northwest, that's the name of the city, Northwest, at 12:20 a.m. This includes U.S. Route 74 between mile markers 417 and 428. Other locations included in this storm, of course, as we talked about, Sandy Creek. Okay, that's the bulletin from the National Weather Service. You can go ahead and you can see it there on your screen. I'm also looking at National Weather Service chat with the meteorologist at the National Weather Service will be coordinating and discussing with emergency management and other partners such as ourselves and broadcast meteorologists who may be in the area. So, we would even encourage you that if you are in the Wilmington area that you tune to local television. Those are the folks who can be able to give you street level data. We're going to be able to give you kind of county level and town level data. But those local meteorologists, of course, at your local broadcast facilities can always give you that ground level. They know your backyards even a little bit better than we do, and we don't want to mess around in a dangerous situation. But for those of you who are streaming us right now, you are looking at a confirmed tornado on the ground. This is just to the west of Wilmington, North Carolina. I'm James Brierton in Charlotte. It's 12:05. This is, luckily, the only game in town. Looking at radar scope here. You can see to the left, this is super res, reflectivity from the radar site there that services that Wilmington area. That's rain. That's precipitation. That's what you're used to seeing when you're looking at radar. On the right-hand side of your screen, that's super res velocity. That's the atmosphere. That's the radar scanning the winds. And then we're getting kind of a muddy picture on the right-hand side right now. You can see we have what's called a hook echo on the left. That's where we can see the rain being wrapped as the winds are creating this area of circulation. You can also see the intense lightning, not a requirement for a tornado, but oftentimes an indicator of just how strong of a storm we are dealing with. We are elsewhere looking at, there's no warning on these right now. There have been other severe thunderstorm warnings out, but we're looking at other areas right now that are still getting lots of rain, lots of lightning, and heavy wind. This particular scan up here near Wallace catches my eye as well, too. Now, the radar is telling me almost 85 miles an hour up there, but as we talked about before, that's going to be over 4,000 feet above the ground. Keep an eye on it. The definition of a severe thunderstorm warning would be 60 mile per hour damaging winds. So we'll watch to see if the Weather Service does anything on that right now. But again, the thing we're keeping our eye on, the most pressing, life-threatening issue at hand is this tornado on the ground in what I believe to be, we're going to be crossing into Columbus County if we haven't already. And I'm waiting to see. I suspect the Weather Service will drop off Brunswick here, as it looks like I believe they have done that, as the threat now is, we're kind of still straddling that line a little bit. Okay, an update now, 12:07 update from the National Weather Service, a confirmed tornado on the ground. Let's see what we have here. Is located near Delco. We're 12 miles west of Leland. It's moving at an incredible speed of 50 miles an hour. Tornado warning remains in effect for north central Brunswick and eastern Columbus counties until 12:30. Repeating that, until 12:30 for the next 20 minutes. North central Brunswick, eastern Columbus counties, North Carolina. You need to be in your safe place. This tornado will be near the city of Northwest around 12:20 a.m. This tornado is on the ground, according to the National Weather Service. They want you to seek shelter right now. Let's go ahead and put this into motion. You can see the path that this tornado has taken. Even here in the last few minutes, we came on the air. It was near Chaloette. This area of black, this circle, this dome, that's the actual radar site. And you can see it really clearly on the right-hand side of your screen, where the red and the green come together and kind of dance around each other a little bit there, between the radar site and where the polygon currently is in the last few minutes, clear as day. Not so clear right now in terms of the velocity, but we still have a very dangerous situation on the ground. I would say we probably still more than likely have something that is still trying to wrap around in here, looking at the left-hand side of my screen now, the velocities, or excuse me, the reflectivity. Again, that's measuring rain, but you can see we have a little bit of a notch still, and even if I go back just a frame or two, this radar picture taken at 12:04, it jumped ahead on me. You could see what was clearly a notch, and that's one of the things we will look for here. Again, this is going to be coming into Northwest and Sandy Creek. I believe not too long ago, the Weather Service was actually able to give us some additional road names as well. Hopefully this time of day, most people are home and able to seek shelter. This is coming up at Andrew Jackson Highway. Again, this is going to be coming into Sandy Creek, Northwest, Riegelwood. This is straddling Columbus and Brunswick counties here along coastal North Carolina, just to the west of Wilmington. I'm James Brierton in Charlotte, North Carolina. You're streaming severe weather coverage from the Carolina Weather Group. Widening back out, show you what else we have going on. Luckily, South Carolina, for the most part. Just click around to our different radar sites here real fast. You can see more or less, short of just a few showers that remain along the I-77 corridor. Not much activity right now in South Carolina. Not much activity right now in the upstate of South Carolina or western North Carolina. Again, a few showers moving along that I-77 corridor, same for Charlotte. But then we still have storms that are working their way out to the east that extend along the I-95 corridor. Raleigh, you're seeing the rain beginning to stop. Lots of thunder now in Rocky Mount. Greenville, Wilson, Goldsboro, Jacksonville, you know what we're talking about. And, of course, down here in Wilmington, we're continuing to watch this tornado on the ground, tornado warning. Going to slide now just to the west of Wilmington. This is technically a warning that will go until 12:30. Could be extended if the threat continues. When we came on the air not half an hour ago, it was then scheduled to wrap up in a mere minutes, but has been now pushed back until 12:30 as this threat continues to move to the north and the east at 50 miles an hour, not ironically through a town called Northwest here in the next few minutes. Dangerous situation. Tornado on the ground, according to the National Weather Service. Many of you streaming us online this evening, thank you for joining us here at 12:12 a.m. on what is now Tuesday, February the 16th, 2021. I'm James Brierton in Charlotte. See some of you referring to coverage from our friends at WECT Television in Wilmington. That's a great recommendation. We do appreciate you sharing that. Like I talked about, do trust your community meteorologists who are on the ground and might be able to give you street-level guidance that I frankly am not going to be able to give you here from Charlotte, but for those of you who are choosing to join us, we do appreciate that. I want to give you kind of a county-level view of what's happening right now, and that's what we're about here at the Carolina Weather Group, and severe weather comes a-calling outside of our weekly weather podcast, which airs on Wednesdays. Okay, we're still waiting for an update from the National Weather Service. We are looking at now on new guidance in from the national side of things, the Storm Prediction Center in Norman, Oracle, Oklahoma, giving us broad guidance as to what to expect across much of the area as we go through the evening hours. Isolated supercells with the potential to produce tornadoes or damaging wind gusts could increase further as lines of thunderstorm rapidly spread into the outer and inner banks areas of North Carolina between now and 3 a.m. That's essentially what you're watching play out right now. The Storm Prediction Center issues these categorical outlooks that you might be familiar with. Hear us talk about these from time to time. You can see them on your screen right now. This area in yellow, which does include Wilmington, just kind of barely misses Jacksonville. And if I were to continue it out over the ocean, it would look something like this. You can see a similar one over Savannah and parts of Florida. That's called a slight risk. It's a tier 2. This green line here that I'm now tracing, it's called marginal. It's a tier 1. The highest tier is 5 in this categorical outlook that the Storm Prediction Center puts out. So the areas right now along the coast, and our areas that would be of concern, is the waning little bit here of Myrtle Beach, Wilmington, and again, the inner and outer banks of North Carolina. You have that slight risk, tier 2 out of 5, that will continue for the next few hours. That's what the Storm Prediction Center is talking about in their new guidance put out to meteorologists just a few moments ago. 60% chance, by the way, that they may go ahead and issue some sort of watch. Severe thunderstorm watch, tornado watch, 60% chance that they might do that here. So again, this is a perfect night to go to bed with multiple ways to get severe thunderstorm, tornado warnings, flash flood warnings, whatever it may be. Have that weather radio handy by your bedside. Make sure it has ways to receive updates if the power were to go out. It could be a life-saving tool. We are looking at some preliminary information being shared by storm spotters, National Weather Service, and Emergency Management right now in the internal National Weather Service chat. And they are going to be assessing here in the next few minutes whether there is any sort of damage or injuries caused by this tornado that was on the ground in parts of Brunswick and Columbus County, going ahead and putting that radar back into motion for you right now. It's our understanding that the National Weather Service here at 12:15 has canceled the tornado warning. You can see our red ticker has disappeared off the bottom of the screen to reflect that as well. And that would mean that the imminent threat is over. our red polygon will disappear off our radar scope in the next few minutes. You can see here a really defined hook echo that was being picked up. Look at this. This is textbook. Right on in here. You can see it kind of has this bowing head, and then it has this notch where the winds come back on in. And that was not but 10, 15 minutes ago. There goes the red polygon warning to reflect that has been canceled. There's no sign of that bow echo anymore on radar. Let's take a look at this radar right now. We still have strong thunderstorms, not severe, just outside of Jacksonville. Same thing, Wilmington. I'm sure you're getting quite the light show still. Again, the tornado warning has been allowed to expire. It could still pose a threat, the weather that is, over the course of the next few hours, and that's what the Storm Prediction Center was warning about or advising about in the last few minutes. So, again, this threat has passed, but until that 3 a.m. hour or so, we're going to have to keep a close eye on the weather, and that's why we encourage you, as you might be heading to bed, to have some way to be woken up in the middle of the night while you are asleep if need be. Again, the officials here will be heading out to see if there's anyone who might need assistance or might have suffered any structural or personal property damage. Luckily, if there was any silver lining that is apparent to us in the immediate, it's that, and I'm replaying radar now, this was, for the most part, over a fairly isolated area right up on through here. Not a completely unpopulated area, but a fairly isolated area compared to some of the metropolitan cities, which are just off to our east. Or even as we were beginning to come into Northwest and Sandy Creek, you can see maybe what was the remnants of where that circulation was, and maybe still is slightly in some of the upper layers of the atmosphere, or at least not at the surface. We don't believe there to be a threat at the surface anymore, as that tornado warning has been allowed to expire. The media and National Weather Service now trying to work together to review data to pinpoint where in the community there could be potential for damage. And we can speak broadly to say that we would have seen historically in situations like this that the National Weather Service office would go out the next day to conduct what's called a storm damage survey, where they will then look at the damage that's on the ground to decide if a tornado was on the ground, and if so, how strong was that tornado, and they can make that assessments based on observing the damage, what type of structures were damaged. Were they wood structures, brick structures, concrete structures, each one of them having a different give point with a different strength storm, different winds, and they can also look at the pattern in which, say, trees fell to determine if it was scattered, circular in nature, like the rotation of a tornado, or if they were more broad, all falling in the same direction, like you might see from straight line winds. So those are the type of things that meteorologists and the National Weather Service typically go out to observe in the day or two following a storm, to find out exactly what occurred, and also to, more or less perform a little critique on themselves to make sure that the information they were putting out in real time was accurate, and more or less so it typically is. So again, the National Weather Service in Wilmington had jurisdiction of this. We'll look for information from them tomorrow to decide what their plans may be. We have the National Weather Service telling us now in chat here, damage being reported near Windsor Circle. This is in the Ocean Ridge Plantation area off of Highway 17. This information being relayed by the National Weather Service, originating with the Brunswick Emergency Management Department agency. Again, damage reported now, Windsor Circle, near Ocean Ridge Plantation area off of Highway 17. I'm going to go ahead and, I know you're looking at radar scope. Let's see if Windsor Circle is going to be an area that the system will be able to locate for us with these. If I can remember here on the desktop version of this software where in fact locations live. There it is. Not sure it's going to be able to discern that if that's a big enough area. Doesn't look like it is the case. But again, no tornado warning now. The time is 12:20 a.m. And Brunswick Emergency Management telling us via the National Weather Service, damage reported near Windsor Circle in the Ocean Ridge Plantation area off Highway 17. All from a tornado that was believed to have been on the ground in the past half an hour or so. James Brierton with you here in Charlotte. I'm waiting around with you here, continuing our streaming coverage with the hope that we might get some additional information to share with you in the immediate term here, being relayed by ham radio operators, storm chasers, emergency management, first responders in the National Weather Service. Ham radio, amateur radio operators assessing whether or not any damage to homes, any persons who may not have a place to now shelter on what remains to be a cold, rainy evening across much of the Carolinas. Okay, I've used Google Maps, as I'm sure some of you have also done, to try to locate Ocean Ridge Plantation off Highway 17 where some of that damage occurred. According to emergency management, and it's actually back here between Carolina Shores and Shalloette, which was just before we began our streaming coverage with you. Probably about the time that we were working to get on the air with you, but what we're going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and play this back. This is radar going backwards now, and you can see, I think just in that last frame, I may need to activate a few more frames to show what the radar was seeing when it crossed that area. Going backwards now in time. This is about the time, 11:38. Area of rotation here along Highway 17 between Carolina Shores and Shalloette, where that damage, we're being told, occurred. And it's interesting, I'm sure you've all observed my radar scope, every time it gets a new image, immediately flashing back to real time. What's left of that rotation now moving over northwest. No warning, no threat. Still a little bit of a upper level activity. And what is also being left behind in places like here in Mecklenburg County, Charlotte, North Carolina, but also just in this same area, Cape Fear River, just off to the west. We've had nothing but rain and clouds for days. Now we're getting areas, pockets of very heavy rain moving on through, so we're watching rising creeks, floods, low-lying areas that are poor to draining, cropping up now across the Carolinas. No flash flood warnings of any sort, but we are beginning to see some advisories and some bulletins along the creeks and the streams, and I believe we can actually show that to you on another source. Go ahead and pop this over here to the screen. This is a look right now at all the bulletins, not just the most severe ones. You can see these areas of green: flood advisory, flood warning, river flood warning. There's river flood warnings here. Jacksonville, Cape Fear, Great PD. You know the places. The places that typically flood. Right here in Columbia, we still have a flood advisory. We actually have a camera there. Take a look at that. We have a huge one that the National Weather Service in the Raleigh has put out for everywhere. The Triangle, Durham, Raleigh, Rocky Mount, Goldsboro. And that's because all this rain that has fallen now has to try to get somewhere. Let's look here at a couple cameras before we sign off tonight. For those of you still with us here for streaming coverage from the Carolina Weather Group, I'm James Brierton. Thanks so much for being with us tonight. Let's go into Columbia, South Carolina first, if we could. And we have you can see the clouds that remain. This is a shot of from the University of South Carolina, believe it or not. because you can't see anything. That's a shot from WeatherStem. Here's a shot closer to downtown. The USGS has this here, the Rocky Branch at Wally Street, where it does typically flood. Sometimes all of this is underwater, not this time. So you can see that the water management system, they're not doing too horrible. Do have a flood advisory that remains in effect. We, of course, as we're talking about a few moments ago, have lots of activity out still along the shore. A live look now from UNC Wilmington, a little lightning there. Wilmington, North Carolina, the camera from WeatherStem and their network of cameras. No warnings to tell you about here as we come up on 12:30. But plenty of lightning. Plenty of rain. Believe it or not, we may even see some sun tomorrow. I know I'm looking forward to that. I was trying to see if we had a Jacksonville camera. Wow, there you go. Lightning strike for you. Captured by WeatherStem. Wilmington, North Carolina, where we have an area of storms rolling through right now. Pretty stormy night there if you are trying to catch some sleep. Let's take a look here. If we get this to play, this will be the Petey River near Florence in South Carolina. Another area that is trying to cope with all of that runoff. Doesn't want to load. That's okay. I suspected even if it did load, it would be fairly dark at this hour. Myrtle Beach for you, where things are beginning to clear up a bit. So we'll go ahead and we'll keep an eye on this. There you go. There's some lightning for you still in that Myrtle Beach area. Looking here towards the airport. WeatherStem and WFXB providing this angle. Again, if you're going to be heading to bed along the coast there, go ahead and keep that weather radio on. Have multiple ways to receive weather warnings, because we're going to be keeping a close eye on a threat that will carry through the overnight. And if we pop back over to radar scope some real fast, Kathleen telling us some crazy thunder and lightning earlier in Myrtle Beach area. I believe that, Kathleen. Absolutely. Absolutely. Justin telling us on Facebook reports of homes possibly damaged from our tornado earlier. Yeah, Justin, we're seeing those reports as well, too. We'll wait to see what additional information might come in to validate that. Hopefully everyone is okay. Wanted to show you here our categorical outlook. Again, if you're in this yellow area, which really just hugs the coast from Myrtle Beach, Wilmington, out through the Outer Banks, that's a 2 out of 5 slight risk for severe weather. Green is marginal, 1 out of 5 chance. And you can see these are some of the probabilities. Tornado, hail not so much, and wind damage as well too. Go ahead and show you Myrtle Beach one more time. Going to go ahead and put up Wilmington on the screen as I take another look at the latest from the National Weather Service chat, where media, storm spotters, and the Weather Service all coming together. We do have confirmed for you at this hour damage from a tornado near Windsor Circle, Ocean Ridge Parkway, or Ocean Ridge Plantation area, off of Highway 17 in Brunswick County. We're looking into reports of damage possibly in the Ocean Isle Beach area, as you might expect. Not too terribly far from where a lot of this is. Do we have an Ocean Isle Beach camera? And is it online? Those are always the million-dollar questions. Ocean Isle, if I'm not mistaken. Carolina Shores, Ocean Isle. We know we have damage from about 11:30, 11:40 right on in here along Highway 17. Here's Highway 17. You can see there between Carolina Shores and Shalloette. You can see this is earlier radar now. Ocean Isle is a little far east, in my opinion, based on radar, to have had damage from the tornado. Certainly could have been lightning or wind. You can see right here at 11:38 where that tornado more than likely crossed the highway there, slid, I mean, just off to the side of the the radar. And let's count our blessings there, because had it gone over the radar, it could have hypothetically potentially caused damage. We've seen situations like that in the past. And if that had happened, it could have made warning for everyone else downstream all that more difficult. But you can really see we're right on in here, too. I would say there were at least two areas where that tornado is very clearly visible on velocity. But even though it's not as clear in some other spots in velocity, I would say even the reflectivity gives me thought that we had a hook echo and it certainly was probably on the ground for a good distance of time, or was one that was picking up and dropping down frequently. So we'll find out from the National Weather Service tomorrow, I suspect, although they haven't confirmed yet that they'll go out and do a storm assessment. We do have a severe thunderstorm warning I'll tell you about real fast here. We are actually talking about this area, I believe. Yeah, this is just here on the other side. This is where our tornado warning was earlier. We have a severe thunderstorm warning now. St. Helena, you're in this. Lots of lightning, although that's not a characteristic of a severe thunderstorm warning, just something I'm observing. Severe thunderstorm warnings are issued for 60-mile-per-hour winds or quarter-size hail. In this case, it's for the winds. This is for Pender County in southeastern North Carolina. Severe thunderstorm located over northwest. The location, the place, northwest. Or 9 miles northwest of Leland, moving northeast at 45 miles an hour. You can see some of those locations on the screen that will be impacted by this. Expect things like wind damage, power lines. And this goes until 1 a.m. Okay, that's going to do it for this severe weather coverage from the Carolina Weather Group. I am James Brierton in Charlotte, North Carolina. Thanks for joining us online and staying with us as we brought you through that situation. Again, you're going to want to keep a weather radio, multiple ways to get warnings overnight near your bedside. And you guys can actually hear some of the sounds of that National Weather Service chat. But the National Weather Service just here now as we prepare to sign off, issuing their first of probably many, what they call local storm reports. I've activated here on our radar scope. We'll see how long it takes to filter on through while I read it to you. This is for Brunswick County for that tornado. 5 miles southeast of Longwood is our location, where we talked about at 11:37. It's going to be right about on here in time. I suspect right on here is what we're talking about as usual. Structural and house damage reported by county management in the Windsor Circle area of Ocean Ridge Plantation, just off of Highway 17. People trapped in homes. New information here. People trapped in homes. Several power lines down along Highway 17 near Highway 904 intersection of Grissonton area. So again, people trapped in homes. Structural and home damage reported by County Emergency Management in Brunswick County, North Carolina, in the Windsor Circle area of Ocean Ridge Plantation, just off of Highway 17. And you can see back in time here what was more than likely a tornado that was on the ground right on in here. And first responders now there in that community trying to help people who may still be trapped in their homes at this hour. And the National Weather Service will be working to determine in the near future the strength of that tornado that kept everyone on their toes for at least roughly 25 miles or so. We had that active tornado warning polygon from the areas of Carolina Shores to just shy of northwest, hugging at times parts of Brunswick and Columbus counties here in the coastal regions of North Carolina just outside of Wilmington. For the Carolina Weather Group, I'm James Brierton in Charlotte, North Carolina. This has been Severe Weather Coverage.